You knew that feeling when you send a text and then immediately reread it 12 times, wondering if it sounded weird. Or when someone says we need to talk and your brain has already written, rehearsed, and lived through 17 different versions of that conversation before it even happens. Or when you are lying in bed at midnight exhausted, but your brain is replaying something that happened 3 weeks ago like it is just happened 5 minutes ago. Yeah, that's not being careful. That's overthinking. And for some people, it never stops. Not in the morning, not at night, not on vacation, not even in the middle of a good day. Their brain is always running, always analyzing, always asking, what if, what did that mean? What should I have said? What's going to happen next? And for their whole life, people have told them the same thing. Just stop thinking about it. You are overthinking again. Why can't you just relax? And as if they have not tried, as if turning off their own brain is something they just forgot to do. Today, we are going into the real psychology behind people who can't stop overthinking. Not the surface level stuff, the deep reasons, the reasons most people never hear. Because this is not just a bad habit and it's not a character flaw. It's a pattern that starts much earlier than most people realize. Here's where it begins. Psychologists have found that chronic overthinkers, people whose minds genuinely cannot rest, often develop this pattern in childhood, not because something dramatic happened necessarily, but because their early environment taught their brain one very specific lesson. The world is unpredictable, and the only way to stay safe is to think ahead. Maybe they grew up in a home where the mood could change without warning, where one wrong word caused a big reaction, where they learned to read the room before they walked into it. Maybe they had a parent who was unpredictable, not always in a harmful way, just in an inconsistent way. Happy one day, distant the next. And a child's brain in that situation does something very logical. It starts scanning, constantly looking for clues, trying to predict what's coming so it can prepare. That scanning, the constant reading of every single, every tone, every small detail becomes automatic. It becomes the brain default setting. And then they grew up, the environment changes, but the setting doesn't. Their brain is still scanning, still predicting, still preparing for something that may never come. Psychologists call this hypervigilance, a state where the brain is permanently on alert. Not because there is danger right now, but because it learned a long time ago that danger can arrive without warning. And here's the cruel part. The same brain that is exhausting them, the one that won't let them sleep, won't let them enjoy the moment, won't let them just be. That brain was once trying to protect them. It worked hard to keep them safe. It just never got the message that things are different now. Let's talk about what living inside an overthinking brain actually feels like. Because from the outside, overthinkers often look totally fine, calm, even composed. But on the inside, there is a conversation happening constantly. A loop that starts before they open their eyes in the morning and doesn't stop until they finally fall asleep at night. And sometimes, not even then. Here's what the loop sounds like. They have a meeting tomorrow, so tonight their brain runs through every possible thing that could go wrong. Every question they might not know the answer to, every way they might look unprepared, every reaction from every person in that room. By the time the meeting actually happens, they have already lived it 20 times. And when it goes fine, and it usually does, their brain doesn't say, see, I told you it would be okay. It says, okay, but what about next time? There is always a next time. This is what psychologists call a rumination cycle. The brain gets stuck in a loop of thinking about the same thing over and over. not to solve it but just to keep reviewing it, like a video on repeat that never reaches a conclusion. And the exhausting part is this: it feels productive. It feels like they are doing something, like all that thinking is preparing them, protecting them, keeping them ahead of the problem. But research shows the opposite is true. Chronic overthinking doesn't lead to better decision, it leads to more doubt, more hesitation, more second guessing. The more they think about something, the less clear the answer becomes. They know what they want to say, but they write the message 8 times and send nothing. They know what decision makes sense, but they keep looking for more information until the moment passes. They know the relationship is wrong, but they analyze it from every angle until they have convinced themselves to stay. Overthinking doesn't protect them from mistake, it just delays everything. And here's the part that stings. While their brain is busy living in the future, preparing for problems that have not happened, their actual life is passing by in the present. The dinner they didn't enjoy because they were worried about tomorrow. The conversation they missed because they were replaying yesterday. The quiet moment that could have been beautiful, interrupted by a thought that didn't need to be there. Overthinkers are often the most intelligent people in the room, the most aware, the most careful. But their brain charges them a very high price for that awareness. And many of them are tired, not physically tired, soul tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix, because even rest requires quieting a mind that doesn't know how to be quiet. Some of them turn to control, trying to manage every variable in their lives so there are fewer things to worry about. They plan everything, they over prepare, they struggle to be spontaneous because spontaneous means unknown, and unknown means the brain has to start scanning again. Others turn inward, they withdraw, they cancel plans, not because they don't want to go, but because thinking about going is already exhausting enough. And almost none of them talk about it, because how do you explain to someone that your biggest problem is your own mind? Here is what the research actually says about overthinkers, and this part most people never hear. The same brain that tortures them with worst case scenario is also the brain that catches problem before they even happen. That plans ahead when everyone else is caught off guard. That thinks about consequences that other people never ever consider. Overthinkers make careful decisions when they trust themselves enough to make them. They notice things others miss. They ask questions that nobody else thought to ask. They see angles and outcomes and possibilities that people walk right past. Some of the most thought leaders, writers, scientists, and creators in history were overthinkers, not despite their racing minds, but because of them. The problem was never the thinking, the problem is the thinking with the no switch off, the thinking that loops instead of moves forward, the thinking that was trained for danger and never learned how to just rest. And here is the shift that changes everything. Overthinking is not a personality, it's a habit, a very deep, very practiced, very automatic habit, but a habit. And habits can change, not by trying to force the brain to stop, that doesn't work. Every overthinker has tried that. You tell your brain to stop thinking about something, and suddenly it's all of you can think about. It changes by giving the brain something different to do. Instead of stop thinking about it. You have a brain that learned to work over time to keep you safe, and it did its job. It got you here, but you are allowed to tell it quietly, gently that it can rest now. You don't have to figure everything out tonight. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to take one breath and then the next one. That's enough. Tell me in the comments, what is one thing your brain won't stop overthinking right now? Even something small. And if this video felt like someone finally understood you, the next one is going to go even deeper. It's about why overthinkers attract certain kind of relationship into their lives and why the same patterns keeps repeating no matter how hard they try to stop it. Click it, your brain is already curious, let it find out.